Hi folks, and this is the next video in the series of how to answer exam questions for your GCSE paper on the 16th of May 2022. These model answers are there to help you, but the most important thing for you to do is to practice. Practice makes permanent. If you go to your Teams group, you will see all of the past paper questions for Buddhist beliefs, Buddhist practices, Christian beliefs and Christian practices. And just another reminder that at the AQA GCSE Religious Studies page you will see all of the past paper questions and you will see what all of the papers look like. So it literally will look like this. You'll get two booklets, one for Buddhism, one for Christianity, and the exam is an hour and 45 minutes. In that exam you'll have 4 24 markers. And remember, we've been practicing this timing since year 9. It will be 1 mark per minute, which means that for the 12 marker, you'll have between 12 and 14 minutes. The reason you might get slightly longer is because on the 1 and 2 mark questions, it's literally just a multiple choice and 2 bullet points. So here it would be tick one of these, and it says give 2 of the 3 poisons, then I'll put greed and ignorance. That's it. I don't need to put full sentences. So that took me less than a minute, meaning that I have more time, maximum 15 minutes for my 12 marker. This style question is worth 50%. That's right, 50% of your GCSE, which is why it's so important. I'll talk about the ethics paper in another video, but I would argue that 12 mark questions for the religion paper are the hardest type of question on this GCSE, which means that they are the ones you should be practicing the most. The things that you find the hardest, you should be practicing the most. In terms of what topics to practice, you should go to your revision grid, pick the topics that are red, and complete a 12 marker. You can request a 12 marker, or you can go to a past paper question in the Teams group. Okay, enough preamble. Let me show you how to answer these questions. Okay, so on the religion paper, it's really important to remember the following things. Your answer should be balanced. That means that you can either write a sausage, support oppose, judgment. You can't think of more than 2 points. You need to have a sodge. It is okay to have a support, an oppose, a support, and a judgment. That's okay if you can remember 2 support points but only 1 oppose. You could also do it, of course, this way round. Oppose, support. That's fine, but it's not very catchy. But the key consistent part in all of these is that it has a judgment. You absolutely must have a judgment, even if it's 1 line, because that gets you into the top bracket. Other things to remember for this, because you can't really use outside contemporary examples like you can in the ethics paper to give detail. So your detail needs to come from key words, quotes and references. This is where your preparation using flashcards comes in. When you're giving reasons and developing those points, as I'll show you how to, you need to give as much detail as you can. Even if it feels like you're waffling, the more detail you can give, the better. To try and prevent waffling and trying to maximise the marks, you need to keep in line by every paragraph containing the wording of the question. To emphasise the importance, I've put it in caps lock. This keeps you, even if you feel like you're waffling, it keeps you in line with the question. So let's take a look at 1 Buddhist example and 1 Christian example. I'm not going to write a whole 12 marker. I'm going to show you how to do a couple of paragraphs. And then you can give it a go yourself. So I've chosen a past paper question here from the Teams group. I've got my revision guide next to me, and in that revision guide I've got the pages on the Bodhisattva and Arhat. So I've got information there. I've previously done some understanding tasks based on that, and now I'm going to give this a crack. Okay, so the question here, and in my opinion it's pretty tricky, it says it is better to be a Bodhisattva than an Arhat. So a Bodhisattva, of course, is someone who has become enlightened but has stayed in the cycle of birth, death and rebirth, so they continue with suffering so that they can help others to reach enlightenment. An arhat is someone who has attained enlightenment. Mahayana Buddhists believe in the existence of bodhisattvas and their importance, and arhats typically take a degree of importance in Theravadan Buddhism. So I'm going to use as many keywords as I can. How do I start this sort of question? Well, I use this 12 marker. What do I start it with? I'm going to say some Buddhists may agree with this as they follow the Mahayana tradition of Buddhism. Why do they agree? This is because now if bodhisattvas stay in the cycle of birth, death and rebirth to help others, this means they're being compassionate. What's the word for compassion? Karuna. So this is because they see compassion, so here's my keyword, karuna, as an important aspect of their faith. And I'm going to put, this means that they want to follow the compassionate example of, who's a modern day bodhisattva? The Big D, Dalai Lama. Okay, let's review. Some Buddhists may agree. There's my sentence starter. This is because, keyword, this means that, linked back to the question, and I've used the Dalai Lama. Alright, so what do I do? So I've given a support. How do I give an oppose? I need a connective. Let's say on the other hand, or although. What's another one? I'm going to put however. Some Buddhists might disagree because they follow the Theravadan tradition of Buddhism. So I see I've contrasted it. This is because they believe that the Buddha became enlightened and they should follow his example. The first followers of what's his name? Let's use his name, shall we? Name drop. Siddhartha Gautama were arhats, and therefore it is better to be this than a bodhisattva. Now that's quite a long paragraph, but let's review. I put however some Buddhists might disagree. Sort of waffled a bit in the middle, probably, as I was just thinking through it, which is why it's important to plan. I put this is because, and I've given a person, so there's my quote or reference. I've put the Buddha. I've used his name so I can show, look at all these keywords, that's why they're so important. And then I've put, okay, so I got a bit lost maybe in the middle. So, let's use a capital there. So, what I've done is, the first followers of Siddhartha Gautama were arhats, and I got a bit lost. So I looked back at the question. It is better to be a bodhisattva than an arhat. Okay, and therefore it is better to be this than a bodhisattva. I've tied it back to the question, which helps me stay on track. Now I'll do two more of these if I can, and then finish with, in conclusion, I think that, and this is the only time I want to hear you say the first person in the conclusion, I think that it is better to be a bodhisattva, as this means that more people are helped. Bosh! Lovely stuff. Okay, now you try and finish this, or give you a look through the past paper questions and give another Buddhist 12 marker a go. Alright, let's check out a Christianity example. I've taken this from the Christianity Practices paper. So, Christianity Practices. And again, these are tricky. Remember, it will always say this. Evaluate this statement. Let's just zoom in to emphasize. It will always say, evaluate this statement. In your answer, you should refer to Christian teaching, give judgments to support, give judgments to oppose or different points of view, and reach a justified conclusion. It doesn't say quotes, it does say teachings. So if you can't think of quotes, refer to Jesus, New Testament, catechism, as many things as you can remember as possible. But key words are crucial. So in the exam, your brain's going to be frazzled. You're going to be writing loads and loads and loads. So my suggestion is to do a really quick sort of small version of this at the top. SOSOJ, right, and just note some things next to it that you might write. Just a quick sort of one minute sort of brainstorm, throw it onto the paper. If you run out of time, the examiner can see where you are going to go, so you might get extra marks for this because they can see the points. All right, this question then. Private worship has more meaning for a Christian than public worship. Difficult question. Right, let's give this a go, shall we? I'm going to agree with this. Private worship has more meaning for a Christian than public worship. So I'm going to, I needed to have planned this in advance, which I haven't done, but I'm going to give this a go to show you how important it is to tie it back to the question. I'm going to start. How do I start? Some. Yes? Okay, some Christians might agree as they believe that the most important thing with prayer is your relationship with God. That gets you a mark. What do I mean by this? Well, I need some keywords in here. Let's use a Christian group. Private worship. Who thinks private worship? Well, I might say a Christian group. So let's use a non-liturgical Christian group. So we're going to say non-conformist Christians may believe that the words you say are less important than intentions, and as God is, what's the word for all-powerful, all-knowing and all-loving? Let's use that. As God is omniscient, he will hear prayers even if they are private. Alright, so again, arguably I got a bit lost in the middle, but I have finished with, and you can see that I've combined the sort of this is because and this means that into one sentence. That's fine. I've tied it back at the end with private. I've used the wording of the question right at the end. Where are my keywords? Nonconformist. What else have I used? Omniscient. Absolutely fab. So you're not using a direct quote here, but I've used some Christians might agree, and I've used some keywords. I said however in my previous one. Well, let's try on the other hand, some Catholics may believe that public worship is more important. I'm going to try and include a quote here. This is because faith without action is dead, and it is important to publicly show commitment to Christianity. This might lead to others following the faith too. Alright, what have I got here? Let's review. On the other hand, some Catholics may, and Catholics are a group of Christians, that's fine. This is because, there's my quote, and I've used a this means that, or this might lead to, at the end, just to tie it together. public. I've used the word public, which links back to the question. All right. So I'd have two others, and then I finish with this. In conclusion, I think, first person for the first time, I think that public worship is more important for Christians, as many Christians use liturgical forms of worship to demonstrate their beliefs. Boom. Okay. There we go, folks. That's exactly what you need. And I'm going to leave it there, but let me just finish with some final tips. All right. Balance. Keywords. Quotes and references if you can. As much detail as you can. Include a judgment, and practice makes permanent. Now you try. Thanks very much.